Hey guys, it's Maria Park and welcome to Arrowverse Wednesday. We have three shows once again to talk about. There's Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, and Stargirl. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right in with Legends of Tomorrow because my girls got married. Was very excited that Avalanche is now married. They are a wife and wife, Mrs. and Mrs. It has gone down, which I knew was going to happen, but I thought something was going to completely interrupt their wedding. Because when you saw the trailer last week for the season finale, it did kind of look like something like interrupted the ceremony, which it does happen in this. But at the end of the day, my girl still got married, so I'm happy. But yeah, so this episode. Now, I thought maybe the Arrowverse was going to be brave because, they are notorious for giving us stuff we don't want. So I thought maybe they'd give us something, not necessarily that we wanted, but would have put them like on the map. But then again, maybe they were scared of being crucified. And basically what I'm saying is they did not kill off Constantine. And I knew they wouldn't. But I honestly, 100% thought they were going to go for it. They were just going to off, because there's so many characters that they kill off, like they technically killed off the first iteration of Black Canary. And Black Canary is not dead in the comics. So, it's like, I really thought they were going to off Constantine, but maybe they just, again, they didn't want to be crucified as the entity that took out such a beloved character in the comics. So, but anyway, long story short, the Fountain does not want to help humans because basically, based on John's interactions, especially with Bishop, the Fountain has determined that humans are not worthy of protection. So it's just holding on to Constantine's life force, or basically he's bonding with it and letting it drain his life force and his soul to keep it going. And as long as he does that, then the Fountain lives and Spooner lives, because Spooner is really, really ill at this point. So they, of course, Sarah and Ava and them are on the defensive. They're like, well, what are we going to do? These aliens come down and they send up a signal. Like they have these scouts that come down that they kind of take out. But before they can take out all of them, one of them hits the kind of like the beacon to say, hey, this planet's ready for you to come take it over. And so, they realize they only have 4 hours before there's an alien invasion on Earth. And they're still stuck in the 20s right now because Spooner's sick. So Ava and them are like, well, we need to come up with a plan. And Sarah's like, I know a plan. Let's get married. End of the world. You want to marry your girl. I get it. But I love how Ava was like, why are we talking about this when we're about to die? But true to form, they're able to pull together this little wedding, which I thought was adorable. Gary walked Ava down the aisle. Ava didn't have any vows written because she's so nervous and she overanalyzes everything. She's a little bit neurotic. So Sarah apparently wrote her vows already, and she's like, I'm the organized one and I couldn't even write mine. So Gary gives her a little pep talk. So she basically says her vows from the heart, which is cute. Not as long as Sarah's, but still cute. They have a very cute ceremony, and then the alien invasion starts. So, side note, Kayla and Rory are adorable. I love that in the episode, they had their babies under this heat lamp, and you have to turn them every so often. And Kayla's like, usually it's the mother who raises the child alone. And Rory's like, I'm not leaving my babies. I wasn't there for my daughter. I'm going to be there for my babies, my kids, all 43 of them. I think it's 43. And then with his, it's 44. It could be 44. And with her, it's 45. I don't know. It's 40 something. So his little babies are in there, and Kayla kind of has this look on her face like, So you can see she's still into Rory, and Rory is still into her. And what I loved about this episode is she went to the wedding with him and dressed up, and she was holding hands. She brought the kids with her. And so, yeah, all intents and purposes, this episode has revealed that Rory is going to raise his kids with Kayla. And that's why he's going to be doing cameos and not be on the show full time, which we knew was going to happen because the actor was already reported to be, basically, I don't want to say demoted, but is going to be a part-time cameo appearance character now and not full-time legend. The thing, I still love Astra's and Spooner's friendship. I think they're adorable. The fact that Spooner has the ability through the fountain powers to be able to swap abilities is very cool, because while they were trying to hold off the aliens at her mother's house, who she sent her mother away because she didn't want to have a repeat of the trauma, because her mother, basically died. She just, and she thought her mother basically was taken and killed by aliens. And she's like, I don't want it to be true. So she sends her mother away, which I don't know where she sent her, because if they were invading Earth, I don't know why they just invaded that one spot. I guess that's where the beacon was. I'm digressing here, guys. It's just things I asked questions about. But so Spooner, I think it's actually somebody gets like scratched by the aliens, and there's no cure. It's the same aliens that got Sarah, and her real body died, and then basically a clone was made of her, a hybrid alien clone. But somebody gets scratched, and then I guess Spooner was like getting upset because they're going to chop off his arm, and Spooner did something, and Sarah's ability to heal transferred into, I think it was Bayra that actually got it. Yeah. And then his arm started healing, and then they realized that she was able to swap abilities, and so she was just doing that. Like literally, if somebody needed somebody's power, like when Astra got scratched, Sarah got her power, and then her healing power went to Astra. So Astra was able to heal, and literally, I'm calling them hexes or whatever we're going to call them. Whatever it really looks like Scarlet Witch's hexes when she's throwing them, but whatever Astra was throwing, Sarah started throwing. So that's a really cool power to have, to be able to just switch abilities and switch powers. I thought that was really cool. Hi, Dee Marie and Ryan. And Ryan, I know you're not going to be around because it's probably late for you in the UK. And I also would love to see a fight between Mixie and Nixel, and we will talk about that when we get on the Supergirl. But just wanted to acknowledge that I see you. But yeah, so that's a really cool power to have. But they still were not winning because it was like an army of these aliens. So long story short, they do defeat the aliens, but it's because Nate realized that Ava and Sarah during their ceremony didn't get a chance to say I do, so they were not officially married. So everybody huddled around them while Kayla was holding everybody off in her alien form with her tentacles, and they were like marrying them really quickly. And when they said I do and they kissed, I guess the fountain saw that as love and deemed them worthy, and so the fountain basically kicked all the aliens' asses. Basically just made them all go away. This is basically what happened. And so the day was saved, which we knew it would be because there wouldn't be legends if they all died. This is the one show I don't have a lot of anxiety over people dying because I know they're not all going to die. But yeah, so the day is saved. And then we see that Constantine is also back and that he gets to say his goodbyes with Zari 2.0. He's going off because now he's in debt with another demon. So he's off to do what Constantine does best. At least he's not gone for good. Now, I do know the actor will be playing a different role next season. He's going to be a physicist, kind of like eccentric, maybe quirky, a little bit crazy, but not Constantine. I don't know what this means for Zari 2.0 because I do like her and I also like 1.0. I don't know if they're going to keep this dynamic going forever as long as the series runs, but I don't know. I mean, I feel sad that this is the first person that Zari 2.0 loved or said, or I guess technically it's true, is fell in love with. And so she's got a lot of grieving to do on that. And then as our heroes were kind of coming to terms with victory, Ava says something, and I knew as soon as she said it, it was going to jinx everything. She's like, I still feel uneasy because normally we don't go out that way. We don't go out on a victory. Something always happens. And then a ship comes and blows up the Wave Rider and then, flies off. And you have to say, what the hell? And so, yeah. Legends. So now they are stranded in Spooner's original timeline. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. So it was a good episode. Like I said, the biggest thing I thought was going to happen was that Avalanche was going to get married and Constantine was potentially going to die, but they did not kill off Constantine. And I was just like, okay. I'm not hating it. I wonder what would have happened were they able to do it, like how they would have got away with doing it. Like, would the fans, would Twitter have destroyed the CW for killing off Constantine? Because I mean, again, it's not the first time characters have been assassinated, be it either through death or through character assassination on the Arrowverse / CW. So, but I guess they did not want to risk it with Constantine. So, okay, good for them. But that does leave potential for him to come back at a later time, because I'm not sure if it's the actor who doesn't want to do Constantine anymore, or if it's just, maybe Legends themselves. Because honestly, I like Constantine. I liked his little relationship with Zari, but he's not the Constantine from the comics, and he's not the Constantine from his TV show. He is definitely more quirky and milked down, and that's not, I think that might have been one of the problems that they were having with trying to keep up this character, because he's entirely too badass for the Legends. He just really is. The real comic book Constantine would have lasted a day, if that, with the Legends, and he would have been like, I'm out. So, yeah. But the actor who plays him is amazing, and I would love to see him playing for the DCEU, but I don't know if that's going to happen, because I cannot imagine anybody else, if they ever do Dark Justice League or anything of that nature, I cannot see anybody playing him but him. So that's problematic, I guess. But yeah, so that's Legends. I know, let me see, Legends rock. The Arrowverse #CW. I was happy to see some action fighting on the Legends. Yeah, I mean, the fight scene was cool. And like I said, Spooner being able to switch their powers was awesome. So that was very cool. So no complaints there. Then we have Supergirl, season 6, episode 10. So there's a lot going on. We had Nia, who basically freed Nixley to try and get her mother back for a day, basically betraying all of her friends and putting everybody on Earth in danger. But she got her mom back for a while, which is good, because we did see how traumatized Nia actually is because of her sister, because her sister didn't get the powers, and Nia did. And her sister, that's all she wanted to do. She wanted to be the next Dreamer, basically. And so it basically stunted their relationship. Now, if you know in the comics, when that happened, her sister goes off and she trains in sorcery. So she becomes a sorceress. But we've never actually seen Maeve, outside of that episode where she basically is a little, transphobic to Nia and said, you're not even a real girl or woman or whatever. She's, she said it out of anger, but like she just kind of dropped off the face of the Supergirl planet or Earth or whatever. So I'm hoping that before this season is over, that we do have some kind of reunion for them, because Nia is very deeply affected from the loss of her sister. So there's that. We did see the mother train her on how to interpret her dreams. So we also got that. The problem was, while she freed Nixel, when she gave her mother, she made it impossible for Nia to be able to communicate with anybody on the outside. So nobody knew that Nixley was there. So that all of itself was a problem. We got to go back to Orlando and Joey, the two brothers that we saw in the previous episode, that Kelly was trying to help Joey at the group home, and the older brother was in jail, and they're basically having their powers used by parts of the warden and different people in the jail for nefarious reasons, and they pretty much got busted. So Orlando was released. Well, we learned that he was trying to get into this like affordable housing program that would basically be a second chance for people that were incarcerated. And it was going to give him a chance to finally give his little brother Joey a home and get him out of the system. But it fell through because basically the councilwoman was trying to do this like kind of deal for regentrification, in the neighborhood, and got everybody. It's been pretty much how you see it in real life when they take over like these urban neighborhoods that are lower income, and then they like build them up and then price them out. That's basically what was happening with this. And of course, because Supergirl promised to always have Orlando's back, she was going to bat for him. But it was like at first, Andrea wanted Supergirl to do this like, social media 24-hour takeover. But the problem with doing something like that with Supergirl and Kara, which is interesting because Kara is a reporter, so she should know better. Supergirl was literally unprepared for the immediate feedback from the viewers, where they basically were accusing her of being a hypocrite. You want us to have a better life, but yet you're messing up our neighborhood, and this could give us opportunities, which on paper does look good. It does look good. But what she's trying to say is pretty much the financial upgrade and, all the improvements, it's not better than the human cost that it will have, because just because they're fixing up your neighborhood does not mean you will always be welcome in it. And that's literally the whole definition of what was happening. And so I love that they put that in there. And I love that they gave Supergirl something to do. And I love that her and Brainy were using their platform to help. And they realized that they had a platform because they don't have a voice in the conversation. I thought that was really interesting. On a side funny note, Brainy got her to do eating healthy, like PSAs, one about eating your greens or broccoli or vegetables, and it went viral, and she's super embarrassed about it. And I thought that was extremely funny. And that was all self-serving for Brainy, because Brainy, it has BED, binge eating disorder, where he stress eats to the point where it's not healthy. And so I guess part of his personal therapy for himself is by doing these PSAs, which is fine. But I just thought that was interesting. At the same time, we've got Kelly, who's training with Alex, and she's not able to get this move that Alex shows her, but she is able to basically improv or be resourceful and use Alex's momentum against her when they were sparring, taking her down. But she's so hard on herself because she can't figure out that one move. She doesn't think she's going to be a good guardian. And I did like her little talk with Kara, where Kara was like, you're resourceful. Why are you trying to be Alex? Don't be Alex. Don't try and do what Alex does. Do what you do. Be your own guardian. And, we see her later, like, save the councilwoman in this. And she pretty much thinks, you know what? I can do this. I can be myself. So I thought that was a really cool way of Kelly, having that little moment of, yes, I want to be guardian, but can I do it? And then coming up with, you know what? I can do this shit. So, it's pretty cool. I like Kelly's character. So I thought that was cool. Now the other part of this story is from Nixel again. So Nixel is free, and Nixel is crazy. And so she types. So remember Mitch and Maxim back in the Supergirl episode when Brainy and Nia went back in time. And they tried. So Mitch and Maxim tried to kidnap Supergirl to put them in their little, basically in their little containment things, and then parade them around in their galactic circus, whatever the hell they do. And we didn't have Maxim in this, but we did have his partner, Mitch. And Mitch basically was trying to find superpowered people because, he's not able to get his life together in National City or on Earth. And so he's turning back to a life of crime. So he is that repeater offender, basically. And he captures Nixley, and Nixley's like, I don't have any powers, but I can help you catch Supergirl. And so she convinces him to help kidnap like this scientist, this alien genetic engineer, basically, to come and build this like kind of bomb that creates ice that freezes things, basically, is the best way of putting that. But her actual agenda was to have Supergirl use her heat vision to give her powers back. So long story short, the building that, Orlando's trying to move into is the site of where the bomb is let off, because when Nixley was watching TV, she saw that was a place that was important to Supergirl, and she's all about effing up Supergirl's life now for leaving her in the Phantom Zone. So she lets the bomb off, and they're able to get everybody out, and, Martian Manhunter and, of course, Supergirl are at the source of the bomb, and she uses her heat vision, and when she uses it on the device, Nixley gets all of her abilities back. But they are able to save all the people, and the house, the building itself, is going to go back to being low income. The council unanimously voted, and probably because in the episode Orlando did this really moving speech, and I thought it was really, really cool. But the downside is that Nixley's plan was to get rid of Supergirl. So they detect still the same kind of ice signature from the bomb. And of course, Supergirl's like, well, it could have been from my heat ray vision. So she goes to check it out on the way home. And then she runs into Nixel, who has all of her power back. And she freezes Supergirl's feet. Now, if you remember, Kryptonians are weak against magic. It's notorious. It's comic book knowledge. Supergirl can do nothing, nothing against this character. So, which kind of messed up to me is that Nixie went ahead and destroyed the building again. Like messed the building up. The Orlando's trying to move in there with Joey. I'm so mad about that. I'm like, get this guy a break. But so she's doing this long thing, and she's like, this is my trap for you, blah, blah, blah. And she just does this. You know how all villains are like, well, you left me to die, blah, blah, blah. So she's getting ready to give the final blow. And then she's like, you know, this is magic, and you can't, you can only beat magic with magic. And then Kara does something extremely cool. She calls for Mixie. I was like, oh, that was I gotta admit, Cara, this was your best moment. She's like, I can't fight you, so I'm gonna get Mixie to do it. And I absolutely love that she called him and he was like, what's up? Oh, like, oh, two fifth dimension characters battling it out. I am super excited. And what made me cry inside, I'm normally not as enthusiastic for Supergirl. I don't hate it, but sometimes the writing gets kind of lackluster for me. So there are characters that I like, but I'm normally not like 100%. I got to watch it next week. I usually just watch it to review, to do a review for you guys. But this one, I really want to watch the next episode because having Nixie and Mixie fight it out is amazing. And they didn't have a damn promo. I'm like, why didn't you have a promo? I'm like, you didn't have a promo this week. Oh, I'm just so upset. I'm so upset about that. I mean, the one time I wanted a promo, you guys let me down. So it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, so now I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens between Nixie basically and Mixie. And good, I mean, just good call because Supergirl knew. She was like, I can't do anything, so I'm gonna get somebody that can. I'm like, you know what? Yes. I'm like, absolutely. So yeah, it was a pretty good episode. So I was not hating that. And then finally, we have our Stargirl episode, which was a mess. So begins with a little young Cindy. She's in her room. You hear her screaming. Her mother comes in and she's like, Mom, I had a dream that Dad found us and he wanted to change me. And we're like, change you? What is that about? But, Dragon King. And she, her mom assures her that, he's not near us. He can't find us. We're far, far away from him, which was a mistake on her part because, she should know her husband, like our ex or whatever. But she, little Cindy gets to go back to sleep. And then unfortunately, we see the outline of the Dragon King. So we know obviously he got her because she's, she's crazy now. So, that whole scene was pretty sad. And we did kind of get a hint of that last season when they talked about you killed your mother. I don't think Cindy directly killed her mother. I think that the father did. And the reason that the father said that you killed your mother is because the mother hid her. And had she not gone with the mother and stayed with him or something along that line, she would still be alive. I don't think Cindy physically killed her mom. But it is what it is. So Cindy is trying to go after Cameron in this episode, which I thought was funny because you see him building this mural. It's really pretty. And he's painting his dad. So it's like a whole homage to his father. And Cindy's basically looking at him, almost stalking him. And his grandmother sees it. And she's like, you're going to stay the hell away from my grandmother, you evil little blah. Your dad was trash and you were trash. And Cindy's like, was getting ready to say something to her. And then you see grandma like blow ice out of her mouth. And I'm like, keeping it in the family. So I think even though Cindy is really hyped up with the power that Eclipso has, she knew she couldn't take grandma on that street right now. So yeah, smart girl. So she decides to lay off Cameron for the moment. Now, right now, like in the episode, Courtney has been flying around looking for the Shade because remember in the last episode, she saw him in the bookstore and he was talking about, how Dr. Knight's daughter had died and how, basically she's in her feelings because she kind of feels like Pat's been keeping things from her. And they really are. Her Pat and the mother are definitely keeping stuff from them. But she's in her feelings about it. And you know how Courtney gets when she's in her feelings about stuff. And she's also doing what Yolanda told her not to do. And that was she keeps basically trying to get closer to Cameron. But when he realizes that they were the ones that inadvertently killed her dad, even though Mike hit him with a car by accident, they were fighting him and they stopped him. And, when he realizes that his dad's dead because of her and the rest of the JSA juniors, he's going to hate her. And then he probably will join Cindy. And so that in itself is an issue because Yolanda knows. Yolanda's like, you are literally playing with fire. And Courtney, being Courtney, once again, is not listening to anybody. And she's true to the comics because she's just like that in the comic books. She is very much a teenager. And you sometimes want to smack her. because she's stupid. So that was a thing. So yeah, I do love though that when Cindy Shiv, or you want to call her, like goes up to Cameron in the art room to try to talk to him to recruit him to her dark ISA, juniors. She he just starts talking about, why are you here? And she's like, I'm sorry about your dad. And he's like, I remember what happened when your mother died. And she's like, he told her something along the lines of, you basically said, you didn't care. You basically act like you didn't care. He's like, so don't tell me that you're sorry for my dad ever. And she was going to stab him, but then their summer school teacher comes in. I think his name is Paul. I don't know, went out of my head. And when she goes by him, he gets affected by Eclipso. And right prior to that, the teacher was telling Cameron how he needed to find a muse, because Cameron had been sketching pictures of Courtney while they were in class, kind of cute, kind of weird, kind of stalkerish, but been sketching pictures of her, a little obsessive. And when Eclipso affected the teacher, he had a new muse. And so he basically starts vomiting paint. He's vomiting paint, and it's using his body instead of having the black diamond to have his powers, or using the powers through somebody else, which is actually really bad for Cindy, because that means that she thinks she's in control of Eclipso, which we learned she's not, because it took over her body. She doesn't realize that once it gets free enough to be able to be out on its own, she is SOL. So she's stupid. Then poor Mike. So Mike has been so sad and so lonely. He's been hanging out with Zeke at his kind of junkyard and repair shop. And of course, Zeke calls, Pat and Barb, because I guess Mike wants to buy a station wagon as a getaway car in case things get real. And Pat goes to talk to them. And what was still bothering me the most about Pat and Mike's relationship is Pat was the one that was treated like Mike by the JSA. So he should know how it feels to be in a position where you're the odd man out. And then what makes it worse is these were coworkers that were doing it to Pat. He's having it in his own house with his own family. He marries this woman. He brings this girl into his relationship who's now his sister. His sister becomes Stargirl, so she gets priority, and everything's about Courtney. And then he just feels like the odd man out, and they treat him like a secondhand citizen in the house. And I've always said this. I said this last season too. I felt really bad for him. That's why when he had Thunder for a little while, he started feeling, like part of the team, like part of something. And then he gave it up. And all Pat keeps saying is just show this motivation for school and for your paper route. And I'm like, him and this damn paper route. I'm like, it's really getting on my nerves, especially since he was getting beat up on his paper route and they didn't even know it, and it makes me wonder if he still has to see these guys that went through all that stuff, because these guys are bullies, and sometimes bullies just do not learn, even when it's a supernatural thing. So I don't know. That whole how they treat Mike actually bothers me. And even though Pat said we'll start doing JSA projects together, I felt like Barb had more of a connection to Mike than his own damn dad. And it's really irritating. And I think that's how Cindy's going to get Mike, because I think she feels like the biggest FU to Stargirl and Stripe would be to take a family member and turn them. And I see it. I see him being very susceptible to this, and it's going to be very interesting. And the picture, though, his picture with the dark version of him does remind me of Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3 when he was venomed up, dancing that crazy dance down the street, which none of us will ever forget. That picture of Mike reminds me of Tobey Maguire on Venom. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out. Now, when they go to the school to try and save the teacher from Eclipso, they go to the store. They go to the school because they were trying to find Eclipso, but then they realize the teacher's actually possessed. Everybody's seeing things that are actually pretty much going on in their head anyway. Because remember, Eclipso plays on your darkest fears and actually traumas as well. And so we see Wildcat, she's seeing both father and son, both Henrys, basically Henry and Henry Jr., seeing how she basically killed the dad and how she feels like Henry Jr. died because of her. She starts scratching the hell out of the lockers, thinking it's like pictures of them, and it's just being taunted by, you're a murderer, you did this, blah, blah, blah. Same time, we have our man who is seeing, his best friend Grundy, and Grundy is just like growling at him, and he's like punching him, which is kind of weird because he's feeding him. So it's like he's feeding him, but yet he's still his enemy, and he still killed his parents. The entire relationship is interesting. But, of course, he's in his feelings. And then, of course, poor Beth, Dr. Midnight Jr., or the second, she sees her parents and their pictures being split, and she's trying to put them back together because, of course, she knows they're talking about getting divorced. So all of them are like fighting their traumas. And so Stargirl had to go and face Eclipso alone. And what I thought was really cool, they must put a lot of money in this scene for the CG, is her using the staff, because the staff, it's light. Eclipso is darkness, so it is weak against it. She literally points the staff towards the teacher, and he grabs it, and then like literally light is pouring out of every orifice, like his mouth, his eyes, his ears. It looks so damn cool that she did an exorcism with literally the staff. I thought that was really, really cool. So that whole scene was cool to me. But the poor teacher now has suffered a mental breakdown, no fault of his own, and now has to be in an asylum, because that normally happens when you're a victim of stuff like that in superhero shows. You have to pay the price by being locked up. So I felt bad about that. But it's what it is, I guess. Now, as for somebody who loved Infinity Inc., the comic series, and it has said repeatedly that Beth and Rick were a couple in the comics, I kind of feel like they are getting connected that way. That could just be me seeing what I want to see. But like when Beth was talking about the real Dr. Midnight being trapped, or the first Dr. Midnight being trapped in what we know to be, a shadow world. So basically one of the shadow realms that the Shade threw him in. Of course, Pat was like, well, maybe Eclipso's making you see things, blah, 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 blah. And Beth was like, no, I think it's real. And it was Rick who basically stood up for her. And they kind of did this look. And I'm like, I really hope that they're following the comics in that way. Because Beth and Rick, Our Man and Dr. Midnight, were a couple in the comics. So I don't know. That's kind of my thing. I'm kind of like still holding a torch for the fact that Rick and her, and if you really look at the dynamic of the team, it's Yolanda and Courtney that are always together, and Beth and Rick are always on the phone with each other, are always together. So I kind of feel like they're trying to push towards that. At the very least, they'll probably be BFFs. But it's just like the whole thing with the divorce. Beth told Rick about the divorce, but I don't think she told Courtney or Yolanda about it. So they're very close. And I really love that fact. And I'm really interested to see what happens, further. And then I know a lot of people that are Cameron and Courtney fans were probably very, very, very upset at the fact that they almost had a kiss in this. And then it was like, bloop. And they were broken up by Courtney frantically testing the weather, Courtney, the weather. They were using the weather to track down Eclipso because their city, basically Blue Valley, is the only place that's having really crazy inclement weather. And so that's why they know that is definitely connected to Eclipso. So yeah, very good episode. I don't ever have a problem with Stargirl's episodes. I think that they are handled very well. But to be fair, this show is based off of Jeff Johns' sister. It was inspired by her. So if you're going to watch any show with his involvement, basically, and expect it to be done correctly, it's going to be this one. Yes, they do change things a lot. Like I said, with Infinity Inc., all of the kids from Infinity Inc. have been kind of de-aged a little bit. Courtney, I think, was still about 17 or 18, but like Yolanda, Beth, Rick, they were all in their 20s. Every time I say this all the time, every time I see Beth's mother, who's also a doctor or who is a doctor and a surgeon, I see basically Beth as the adult Dr. Midnight, because in the comic books, she was a surgeon and a doctor, and she worked with the original Dr. Midnight, and she inherited it from him. She didn't get his owl, but she did get everything else. So I'm always like, that's definitely, that's Dr. Midnight. So, but again, I do love the actress. I think her name is Angelica, who plays Beth. I think she plays her very well. She's very cute, very, very adorable. So I don't have a problem with it. I just think it's interesting, but I wish that they had kept with Infinity Inc. and not with, the Duchess Society of America Part 2. But to be fair, the original Starman is coming back. He's looking for Pat. So I think that a lot of stuff is going to hit the fan when he does get to Blue Valley, because I don't know how loyal the staff will be to Courtney when his original master is back. So eventually we'll get Ted too, hopefully. So that'll be interesting too, because Ted is actually, Starman's son is the one that actually gives Courtney officially the staff and relinquishes his right to it. So, because he doesn't want to be Starman. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I want to see how this plays out. But again, I am excited. I think it's going to be, there's a lot to this. I love what they're doing. Eclipso. Eclipso is straight up horror movie. Like everything about it is straight up horror movie. Guys, I was in my feelings. I was like, this is so well done. It makes me so angry sometimes when I think about the potential of the other Arrowverse shows. And then you have this one, which granted it did come from, the DC universe, but it's just, I feel like there's so much potential to have like quality shows like this in the Flash and with parts of Supergirl. And it just irritates me a little bit, but yeah, it was a great episode. If I could talk about like anything else, I want to talk about Beth's parents. I told you they're helicopter parents. How effed up was it where they're literally talking to her and they're like, hey, we didn't see you for dinner, which means AKA she probably didn't make them dinner because she makes all their food and their lunches. And then she's like, I know you're getting divorced. And they're both like, oh, we were thinking about it. And then they're basically like, well, we'll talk about this later. Yeah. We got to go to the hospital. They literally abandoned their upset child because they didn't feel like having a conversation and use work as an excuse. Her parents are just as trash as Yolanda's parents are. So and again, I still have no idea how Yolanda's getting out of the house, but yeah, that's a whole other conversation. So yeah. Her parents win the gold star of stupidity and bad parenting of the week with me in the Arrowverse. I just had to put that out there. All right, I'm looking at a few questions really quickly. I'm so proud that I did this in under 40 minutes. I'm so happy I caught a stream for once. It feels like making it early to the party. Yay, how are you doing? I'm going to say your name. What is it? So Shipping Dolls. I like that name. I'm still a little miffed. The version of Kara we got is a female version of Superman. People blame the CW for that, but hey, CBS was responsible for it, and comic book readers know Kara isn't Superman 2.0. True. Look, as long as they don't hook Kara up with Lex, I'm okay. Because that in the comics made my brain hurt. Just saying. I really love Alex, though. I love Alex. I love Alex and Kelly. I think that they have a really cute relationship. I know some people are still upset about Maggie, but let's be clear. Maggie was meant for Kate Kane. If you read the comics, you know that they were going to get married. And then because of homophobia and politics within DC comics, that didn't happen. But I think at this point, they are back together. I have to go back and look. But yeah, Maggie Sawyer was always the last girlfriend and fiance of Kate Kane, right after Renee Montoya. So, and I know Renee Montoya is going to be in Batwoman this season, which makes me nervous because I keep telling people one of the problems I have with Ryan Wilder's character is that they keep giving her Kate Kane stuff. They need to create new things for her, and they're not. They're just giving her Kate Kane and Batman stuff, and it just drives me nuts. So if she has a relationship with Renee Montoya in this show, you're going to love my reviews. I'm like, because I'm going to go off. I'm with you. I feel like Supergirl episodes feel like such a drag to watch sometimes, but it was a great cliffhanger this week. Yeah, this episode actually was pretty good. And when she said Mixie and he popped up, I was like, yes, yes. So I'm super excited to see this. They better not let me down. There better be a smackdown fight between these two because these M's are on. Stargirl was the right kind of mess this week. A viewer who watched the first 6 episodes said episode 6 was epic. JSA versus ISA fight. That is great. I cannot wait for the new JSA and the new ISA to fight. I mean, Isaac already looks crazy. That's going to be an issue. I don't even think she had to do much to Isaac. I think Isaac was already nuts. Stargirl has a lot of potential to become a great show if the writers don't F it up. I agree. I'm super worried, but we'll see. I have my fingers crossed. Hello, Mercenary. How are you? Pat and Mike need to go to therapy. Yes, it's like how parents pass on trauma to their kids unknowingly. Pat is making Mike feel exactly like he did while trying to protect him, just like JSA 1.0. Yep, that's exact. I mean, I don't get why he's doing that. I understand as a parent, because I am a parent. I understand wanting to protect your kid. but at the same time, you are mentally messing them up when you literally have a literal powerful entity like literally Thunder tell you your kid is sad and lonely, and that's what attracted me to him. That's your fault. And even Barbara was like, if something is wrong with Mike, that's on us. Why does your wife, who is the stepmother of your kid, have to tell you how to raise your child? I don't understand that. And it makes me wonder about the stepmother, because we saw, the previous Starman in the cafe saying, I'm looking for your ex-husband. So that's Mike's mom. So is she going to pop in the Blue Valley? I'm really curious. And then why did Pat end up getting custody and not his biological mother? So I don't know. I think the best person in Mike's life is Barbara, because Barbara, even when they went to the junkyard, you saw how she kind of looked at him and she gave Pat the look like, stop being an asshole to your kid. Like, the hell? Just like when Pat was like, you made us drive all the way out here. And Barbara's like, I didn't really mind the ride because it's for our kid. Pat, what is wrong with you? Oh, guys. Poor teacher. He needs to join Charm's list of innocents who end up being plot fodder for knowing the main cast. You are absolutely right. Absolutely right. I can't wait to do my season 4 theory Charm video. It's going to be a mess. It is going to be a mess. I can't wait for that to happen. Starman is coming to town. I am so excited. Remember, he's the one that actually starts Infinity Inc., so I'm really curious on how that's going to work. Beth's parents are ISA or JSA. Beth's parents aren't either. But in the comics, Beth's mother looks just the way Beth Chapel looked when she got the Dr. Midnight, identity, basically. So it's a thing. Hello, Kevin. How are you? Beth's parents are so self-involved. Beth is the parent in the relationship. Yep. Beth's parents wanted a chef, not a child. They wanted a chef and a housekeeper. You're absolutely right. They don't even care about her grades. Like, she tells them about it. They're like, oh, yeah, that's good. I'm like, wow. Icy grandma. Yeah. That grandmother had a look on her face like, I will literally take an ice pick and shove it straight up your ass. I said, Cindy, you don't know you're playing with. So that was a thing. I feel for Pat because he is trying to do the right thing, but messing up. Yep. I mean, it's a very weird situation to be in, to have a dual identity and then, trying to raise your kid. Because after the JSA supposedly died, at this point, I'm wondering how many actually did, because they keep coming back. He kind of basically went into this whole parental thing, and then he dated Barbara, and he married Barbara. So he had all this time to live a normal life. It wasn't until they moved back to Blue Valley, because she lived in Blue Valley, and I guess he was in Blue Valley before as well. And because I remember, the JSA at some point were. So it wasn't until they came back there that all the stuff started happening again. So I don't know. It's a very messed up situation. And I get it. As a parent, you want your child as far away from this as possible. He didn't even want Courtney doing this, but Courtney does not listen. And I'm going to tell you, as a minority and a minority parent, and you know what? I'm just going to say it though. My mother wasn't a minority. She was Scottish, but she was the same way. We listened because we feared death. So what I mean by that, if my mother told me I couldn't go flying around on staff out the window, you better be damn clear. I was not going to be flying out the staff out the damn, window, because there's this thing called impending death. I'm not going to the tree. I'm not getting a switch. I'm not dying today. So Courtney, I can tell, has never had an actual punishment. Not, oh, I'm taking your phone away for a day or you can't watch TV. No, I mean, they didn't tan her ass. So she doesn't understand consequences yet. So all her consequences come from her messing up. And when Mike turns, we're going to see a new side to Courtney. I guarantee you. This whole, rushing in without thinking, not listening to people, doing whatever the hell you want to do is going to be limited, or at least tapered down a little bit, because she's going to see actions have consequences. Yolanda's feeling it. Yolanda's feeling guilty as hell for killing, or having a part of killing Henry's dad. So it's a thing. It is a thing. Oh, sorry, I'm good. This one first. That grandma is scary. Absolutely. Absolutely. Pat thought he was going to have a quiet life, and bam, Stargirl Courtney happened by accident. I think not. I mean, that's what happened in Stars and Stripes, the comic. I mean, it's accurate. The only thing is Mike actually is being groomed to be Pat's replacement in the comics. Like he gets to fly around in Stripe and he gets to work on Stripe and learn how to fix things mechanically. And yeah, which I think is cool, which means someday he'll have his own team that he supports. So it's kind of cool. Because the way I look at this, Pat seems to be the one that's the leader. It's not Courtney. Courtney is not the leader of the JSA. It's Pat. I feel like Mike will be that way too. For all of Jordan, Sportsmaster, and Tiger's bad deeds, they are actually better parents than some of our heroes' parents. I love that nuance about the show. I do too. I love the fact that when they were trying last season to make the world a better place, some of the things they were trying to do, like universal health care, all that stuff was actually really good. And even they were like, why are we stopping them? But it's because you're forcing it, free will, you know. But it's like there are some days you're like, but it's okay, just do it anyway. So like their moral values were actually really good. It's just that the way they chose to carry out and implement this plan was very bad. So it's not like they were like, we're human trafficking and we're experimenting. No, we're actually, okay, well, Dragon King was, but we're actually like trying to make the world a literal better place. Say F you to corporations, and make sure that people don't have to face systemic racism and all of this stuff. But we're going to do it by brainwashing you. Like, we're going to make you good. It's like that was the problem. So yeah, this show's always been, that whole nuance has always been there in this show. I thought it was interesting. I worry for Courtney because she's in for a very rough time. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think this season is going to really make her grow up. Because she wasn't even caring about her schoolwork. That is that's so messed up. Like it's not that she didn't care. She was so focused on being Stargirl, she didn't even realize she was failing history. She didn't realize it. So yeah, that was a problem. But right now, honestly, I'm really interested to see what's going to happen when Starman shows up. I'm very interested in the whole friendship between Rick and Beth. I'm extremely interested in what's going to happen when Mike turns, because that is something I'm really looking forward to, because they got their work cut out trying to bring him back. Because I know I kind of feel like something has to happen between him and Pat for him to get that dark, because he's already telling Mike that he's going to put him on little projects or little JSA projects. We'll start small and go big. What small projects? You know what I mean? I hope that wasn't just him just pacifying him and then he doesn't do it. And then he gets really into his feelings about it. And Courtney just comes at the right time after they argue and then turns. Because I think that might be what happens. I recently took a survey, and one of the questions was, if your mom asked you to do something, when will you do it? My answer immediately, and in my 20s. I'm in my 40s. My mother has passed or been gone basically since 2008, and I still look over my shoulder. I'm like, am I doing this right? My mother had this thing about dishes. You always had to do the dishes that night, and so when you leave them in the sink and you don't leave them overnight, I always feel like my mother is coming to attack me. I'm like, always. So there's just things that you are ingrained, they're ingrained in you. And Courtney doesn't seem to have that. I mean, her mother doesn't let her talk to her crazy, which I do know that. Like when last week's episode, where they were talking about Eclipso, and Courtney's like, what about Eclipso? And she's like, getting all bossy, like, what do you know about Eclipso? And then her mother's like, well, you first. And Courtney had this look like, oh, I forgot who I was talking to. Like, Courtney needs Yolanda's parents because they're crazy as shit. Them and the grandma. She would never get out of the house. So yeah, like I said, Courtney is she's a teenager who is used to getting her own way, because it was just been her and her mother forever. And I'm sure her mother had to work as a single mom. I've been there before, and having that, that freedom away from your mother a little bit, to make choices for yourself has kind of put her in this, I know what's best. I'm Stargirl, and I'm super cool. And I'm like, okay, so you obviously like being Stargirl more than you like being Courtney. That is obvious. And I think that is the overall issue. But I think Cameron will help her with that, because Cameron likes her as Courtney. He doesn't even know she's Stargirl. So that should radiate somewhere in her brain. That's another problem that Courtney's going to go through. She's going to have to juggle a relationship with being Stargirl now, because he even said, Cameron said in this episode, you're always leaving. You know, that whole Lois Lane, Mary Jane Watson trope where it's like, where are you going, Peter? Clark, why are you always not here when Superman is? You're so unreliable. And so he's going to be like that with her. It's like, I thought you wanted to be with me, but you keep running away. And I could see that being a thing. I really can. So yeah, the mom look. Oh yeah, that mom look was no joke. And if you have a British mother, it is worse because my mother did not react. It was like, I never knew if I was about to die or she was just, contemplating keeping me alive. It was just this one stoic look. And it was like, oh, I've effed up. So yeah, it is not a good look to have. Sometimes wake up hearing my mom or grandmother's voice thinking they want something, but then I wake up and then no one's called me because you're trained. That's why you're trained. My daughter's the same way with me. Pat and Barbara need to do a child swap scenario with Yolanda's parents. She will come back home and let Barbara keep the staff, or Cam's parents, grandma will give her the icy look of death. Heck, the grandmother might try to kill her because the grandfather was the one saying, let her be with Cameron because he makes him smile. The grandma was like, I don't like that traitor. I'm like, so yeah, Courtney could never go to that house and be raised by that grandmother. She would kill her. But yeah. All right, guys, we are almost to an hour. That is our stream. Look at that. 3 shows, 51-minute recap. I am super proud because I have allergies and I'm tired. We will be doing our What If combination review because our episode 4 of What If, the audio just crapped out. Like there are parts where you cannot hear anything. So we're like, do we do another video or do we just combine it? So we decided to combine episodes 4 and episodes 5 of Marvel's What If from Disney Plus on Friday night. So we're going to talk about the Doctor Strange of it all and the Marvel zombies of it all because yeah, it's exciting. So I want to know, what you guys think about that. So you will see us. It'll be at 7:30. I already put it in the community tab. So make sure to go ahead and put that reminder on so you know. Christian said really quickly, wasn't that blonde woman on Supergirl, Macy's Karen from Charmed? Probably. I'm like, they rotate actors all the time. They probably have a set list of people they call in, so probably. She did look like her though. The one that was where Macy was getting doing the commercial and she was being a bee, but I'd have to go back and look at it again, but I'm not sure. But potentially. But yes. Pay attention to What If that is coming out. My spotlight videos are still coming, so don't worry. They are coming in the pipe. So I know it's been a little delayed. There's been a lot going on. I am working on a motion comic series that has a big voiceover cast that is going to be awesome. And I'm going to put the YouTube link in. I thought I did it on the last video. I'll put it into the description down here, but there's nothing on the channel yet. So you guys will literally be the first one subscribed because I haven't put the trailer up. I don't have the channel art done yet because I've commissioned all the artwork and the comic and all the character designs are being made. So it is going to be awesome. But yeah, this is the thing. And then, of course, we'll have our L Word, Generation Q, live stream tomorrow night. It will more than likely be at between 12 and 12:30 because the show drops for me at 11. So I have to watch it first. But yeah, I'll set up the video probably tomorrow afternoon and watch the episode. And then we will talk about L Word Generation Q if you are one of my L Word followers. And then the last update is I know that Lucifer is coming and I do plan on reviewing it. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do it episode by episode, but considering the entire series is dropping at one time, it might just be an overview. And I also have to do one for the Republic of Sarah, especially since it got canceled. So fun times. Got a lot going on, guys. Be on the lookout for Approach the Yuri. My Abigail and Rael video is almost done, so it should be up soon. And then I have another video on top of that needs to come out because I found another really cool LGBT couple to talk about. So that is also happening. See how busy I am, guys. All right, guys. If it is day for you, have a good day. If it is evening for you, have a good evening. And I will see you guys in our next stream.